today on Rappler. Two disbarment cases and her closeness to the president threaten Justice Secretary Laila de Lima's bid for Chief Justice. The Philippines is Southeast Asia's top economic performer, but analysts say it's the most expensive stock market in the region. The Muntinlupa Little League team makes it to the World Series. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Today, the Philippines starts looking for a new Chief Justice, which for the first time is open to the public, broadcast on nationwide television. You can also watch the live stream every day on Rappler. Judicial and Bar Council interviews candidates for the top official of the judiciary after the impeachment of Renato Corona. The JBC vets the candidates and puts together a shortlist it submits to the president. Three major obstacles to the possible appointment of Justice Secretary Laila de Lima emerged during her interview with the JBC: the disbarment case against the Chief Justice, her lack of legal experience, and her perceived partisanship with the president. In 2011, two disbarment complaints were filed with the Supreme Court against de Lima. One of the cases says de Lima should be disbarred for defying the temporary restraining order issued by the Supreme Court in November 2011, which stopped her from implementing a travel ban against former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. De Lima has a week from Tuesday to have the cases dropped. JBC Presiding Officer, Supreme Court Associate Justice Diosdado Peralta doubts the issue will be settled in time for the JBC's deadline to submit its shortlist to President Aquino.
I do realize, Your Honor, that time is not on my side. First, that I take the position that has not ripened into regular administrative cases. Now, in both resolutions, there's nothing there about a determination of some kind of a probable cause or a prima facie or a preliminary determination. There's nothing there about referring the cases to the IBP for further investigation. The wordings in those resolutions, if I remember correctly, Your Honors, referred to the IBP for investigation, report, and recommendation. Now, if these are referred to the IBP for investigation, report, and recommendation, then I don't see why we have to consider the mere referral from the Supreme Court to the IBP as already a finding of a preliminary merit.
The presiding officer of the JBC, Peralta, points out it would be awkward for a de Lima-led High Court to decide on her own disbarment case if this was elevated to the highest judicial body. Acknowledged as one of the preferred candidates of the president, de Lima admits that as Justice Secretary, she is the alter ego of the president.
Yung haka-haka po yan, yung apprehension na this particular cabinet official who is an alter ego of the president would tend to be beholden to that of appointing authority, it remains to be just really a speculation, an apprehension, a possibility that can go either way. And I don't want to be judged at this point that I would be beholden to the appointing authority. You have to look at my records, Your Honors. I've been with an independent constitution, an independent constitutional body, which is the CHR.
At age 52, de Lima would sit as Chief Justice for 18 years if she's appointed. Asked if she would be open to a term limit, she says the post of Chief Justice is not a political position that can be subject to power sharing. Solicitor General Francis Hardileza faces questions on his past links to San Miguel Corporation in his JBC interviews. Hardileza was a longtime counsel of SMC when it was still owned by businessman Eduardo Danding Cojuangco Jr. The JBC asks Hardileza if he knew details of the Coco Levy Fund case, which involves Cojuangco. He says he was not involved in the case, but only in SMC legal cases. But JBC Presiding Officer Peralta says Hardileza, a former corporate secretary of SMC, must have been aware of the shares owned by Cojuangco.
Is it not that there were questions about the composition of the boards of directors in the board meetings of the San Miguel Corporation, and that at that time you were a corporate secretary of San Miguel, and therefore participated or interpreted probably, or gave an opinion that Mr. Cojuangco can still vote, and vote the 20, equivalent to the 20% shares of Mr. Cojuangco?
I remember I did. I was a corporate secretary at that time.
So in other words, you knew about the shares of Mr. Cojuangco.
JBC candidate Jose Manuel Jocno says justice is not a lofty ideal. It ought to be concrete, something that Filipinos should feel in their hands, he says. Calling himself a liberal imbued with philosophies of human rights, Jocno says if he is appointed Chief Justice, he will push for judicial activism in the face of what he describes as antiquated and inaccessible rules. He proposes a 4-point reform program: transparency, accountability, less flip-flopping on final decisions, and faster and cheaper justice. Asked about his concept of justice, this was what Jocno had to say.
My concept of justice is something concrete, something that the people can see happening in reality, not just a lofty ideal, not just something we strive for endlessly without ever experiencing it, but something that they can feel in their hand. At the present time, a need for more activism on the court.
Can you kindly explain further?
We are in a situation where we don't have yet a proper legal framework for the delivery of justice. And for us to just sit back and take a more safe or conservative attitude given that situation, I think would not benefit the people whom we are here to serve.
On his legacy, if he's appointed Chief Justice, Jocno says he wants to be remembered as a justice who improved the legal system for the majority of Filipinos.
And justice are two separate concepts for the poor. For many of our poor, they identify the law with naked power. And they see justice as just a dream, something that they can never attain in their lifetime. I would like, at the end, if ever I can leave a legacy, to say that I have brought justice back into law.
Lawyer Katrina Legarda explains her stand on the reproductive health bill and divorce during the public interviews for Chief Justice. She says contraceptives may prevent conception, but it does not violate constitutional provisions protecting the rights of an unborn child.
Yes, the use of contraceptives prevents conception. And it is only when there is conception that the provisional personality of the child created. And it is that child who must be protected. My view is that the constitutional provision can still be employed in order to prevent damage and injury to a conceived but unborn child.
Legarda also says it's time for the country to have a divorce law.
My position on divorce is that it is time for us to have a divorce law. We can use the Article 55 of the Family Code, which are the grounds for legal separation, as grounds for divorce.
Presidential Commission on Good Government Chair Andres Bautista talks about the challenges to the judiciary. In his opening statement, he speaks about the problem of addressing corruption and restoring credibility to the Supreme Court. He says an outsider like him could provide the needed radical solutions.
I think that the question all of us need to ask is that, are we happy with the way things are? Because if we're happy, then we should have more of the same. And I think that is where I am coming from, that there has to be a recognition that there is a problem. In which case, perhaps we need a radical, out-of-the-box solution. Bringing in an outsider will hopefully provide new ideas, new perspectives, new insights in the way the court can function.
Another candidate, attorney Soledad Cagampang de Castro, answers questions about gender equality and discrimination in the judiciary. De Castro says if she becomes Chief Justice, she plans to institute equal opportunity for men and women.
All applicants for the judiciary should be equally evaluated because the way, from my personal experience, I made it a point that nobody should carry my bag just because I'm a woman. I should walk like the other men when they go to work. No special treatment, because that is the cost of equality.